Right, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Doctor. We're from Group 13. We're going to present you about Malaysia stuck in the middle income trap. So we are going to start with the definition of the middle income trap. So I pass this to Shaba to explain to us what is the meaning of the middle income trap.
Thank you, Susmita. First of all, did you know the definition of the middle income trade? What is middle income trade? Okay, let me tell you. Middle income trade ni are countries that grow rapidly and therefore swiftly achieve middle income status, but subsequently fall short of catching up to industrialized countries. According to the World Bank, middle income countries are countries with GNI of $1,026 to $12,475. Okay, next slide. Okay, countries that start in middle income trade. So we have India, Indonesia, Pakistan, and lastly Nigeria. So I will pass to the next presenter.
Doctor, sorry, I cannot open the camera because my things is get trouble with camera. So for this slide, I would like to present about the comparison of upper middle income Malaysia with Asian and European countries. Okay, we can see Malaysia achieved upper middle income in 1987. It is because in 1970, the country successfully shifted from dependence on the primary sector and diversified into manufacturing, with assistance from Japan and the West. But since becoming an upper middle income country, based on the data, Malaysia has largely stayed where it is. Compared to the European country, which is Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Poland, they increased and transformed to the higher income because of pursuing reform mandated by EU membership qualifications such as integration into a single EU market, harmonization and standardization of laws. For the ASEAN countries, which is Korea, had broke out of the middle income trap after 1992, but unfortunately, it regains in 1997 because of the ASEAN financial crisis. In 1999, subsequently, Korea propelled back into the higher income category because of far-sighted transformation program. Okay, for this slide, in 1985, Malaysia and Korea were about at the same level of the GDP per capita. In upper middle income category, we can see Malaysia had achieved $2,000 and Korea had achieved $2,150. Unfortunately, Korea achieved the higher income in 1992 than Malaysia because of their government started a wide range of policy directed toward market liberalization in conjunction with its price stabilization program. Other than that, government policy shifted away from import substitution towards export orientation, which is the government undertook a series of policies to encourage inflows of foreign capital to make up for the insufficiency of domestic savings. So that's all for my present. I will pass the next presenter.
Okay. Okay.
Next slide, please.
Wait. Slide number 6. Alright. Okay. Now I will explain why Malaysia start in middle income trap. Firstly, difficulty to do business in Malaysia. Doing business in Malaysia is still difficult. Cumbersome and lengthy bureaucratic procedure have affected the both of the cost of investing and the potential return on investment. Malaysia placed within the Global Competitiveness Index dropped to 24 in the 2010 report from 23 2021 in the previously report, indicating that the country is losing its attractiveness as an investment destination. Second, slow productivity growth. Productivity is growing but still slow. Before the Asian financial crisis, Malaysia was leading in labour productivity growth. It has since lost the pole position. The weak productivity growth highlight the stark reality that Malaysia still lack of innovation and creativity, as shown in stagnant contribution by total factor, productivity and education to output growth. Lastly, export do not generate the added value. Our export are still strong but not generate enough value added. The economy is highly dependent on external market with an export to GDP ratio of 1.2 and a trade GDP ratio of 2.2 in 2008. Malaysia export structure has focused mainly on electrical and electronic products and on primary commodities such as palm oil and petroleum. However, given the large import content in the manufactured export, the value added to the final product has been low. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, so I will continue with is it in the year 1985 to 2021, Malaysian economy still stuck in the middle income trap. So I referring to the World Development Report 1987, Malaysian has been stuck in the middle income trap since 1985. This is due to income inequality has become a growing issue among Malaysian states, especially the richer manufacturing centre that depend on agriculture and other natural resources such as palm oil and mining. In addition, Malaysian is also focusing on increasing the value of manufacturing to increase the country's GDP at the same time to improve the skill in the manufacturing structure. Okay, next slide. Okay, so from the slide in the year of 1962 to 2006, Malaysian show good economic development compared to other countries such as Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, and others as shown on the screen. This is because Malaysian plays an important role in increasing economic growth. Activities such as export and import, establishing international relations, decrease in unemployment, less poverty, and so on. But in 2021, Malaysian has struggled to up the value change, and they are concerned the country is trapped in the middle income trap. This is due to country not being able to maintain a high growth rate to achieve a high income status. At the same time, this also happened due to pandemic COVID-19 that causing the country to be affected in terms of decline and decrease and increase in the country growth domestic product, GDP. So next, I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, we move to high-income country definition. The World Bank defines a high-income country as one with a gross national income per capita as exceeding 12,536 USD. There are some examples of high-income countries such as United States, Singapore, and also Germany. If we take a look at Singapore's GNI per capita, Singapore recorded 49,920 USD in GNI per capita in 2020. Meanwhile, in Malaysia, we only recorded 10,580 USD. This indicates that Malaysia is still in middle income country level as we recorded GNI per capita in the range from 1,026 USD to 12,536 USD. I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, Kai Ronisa. First of all, sorry I can't open my camera due to my internet connection. So I will explain
2019. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay.
We can't hear you, Doctor. I will continue with developed country. It is so-called an industrialized country, has a mature and sophisticated economy, usually measured by gross domestic product (GDP) or average income per resident. Developed countries have advanced technological infrastructure and have diverse industrial and service sector. So either it's same or not, either developed country and high income country. Technically, definition of this term different, but according to the United Nations, for example, some high income country may also be developed country. For example, are classified as high income country. Thus, a high income country may be classified as either developed or developing country. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Farahin. I will continue the presentation. So when will Malaysia reach a high-income country? Malaysia is likely to transition to a high-income economy between 2024 and 2028, a reflection of the country's economic transformation development trajectory over past decade. So, YB Director Datuk Seri Tunku Zafrul Tunku Abdul Aziz have said that the Malaysian government is committed to continually assess the quality, inclusivity and sustainability of Malaysia's growth. Malaysia has both got good position, but we also recognise the need to invest more in developing high-quality human capital to facilitate greater economic opportunities, net generation reform for higher productivity, as well as innovation, lead private sector growth and policies. So, next slide. The government has also increasingly embraced the UN Sustainable Development Goals in its annual budgets. All this will ensure sustainable growth through a targeted, outcome-based economic strategy. So Malaysia will carry the opportunities of a post-COVID-19 economy as well as be back on track to achieve a high-income nation status within the next 5 years and its share prosperity vision by 2030. So that's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Thank you, Fatiha. Okay, Malaysia's economic prospects are predicted to be a high-income country in the future. According to the article, the World Bank Group stated that Malaysia is expected to achieve a transition to a high-income economy between 2024 and 2028. This is because Malaysia's GNI per capita is at $11,200. According to latest estimates, only $1,335 short of the current threshold level that defines a high-income economy. Not only that, Malaysia is also said to have all the features needed to be a developed country. So, to ensure that Malaysia does not trail behind other high-income and developed countries, Malaysia will have to find ways to boost economic growth, improve its competitiveness, create high-quality jobs, and so on. Next slide. For example, the government will encourage the shift of the manufacturing sector towards the production of high value-added, diverse and complex products. Potential manufacturing subsector high growth, namely aerospace and medical device, will also prefer. The industry needs to increase productivity with accelerate the use of robotics, automation and innovation, running research and development as well as implementing practices sustainable production. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Test. Okay, I will continue to my part. What does Malaysia needs to do?
Doctor, you mute your mic. Doctor, you mute your mic.
Okay, I will continue. What does Malaysia needs to do? According to a World Bank report entitled Aiming High, Navigating the Next Stage of Malaysia Development, in order to increase economic income, the country must be highly competitive. First, Malaysia needs to create high-quality jobs, strengthen key institutions to finance the transition toward developed and high-income country status. Second, build capacity across the supply of specific sectors such as agriculture, education, and artificial intelligence. Third, become a high-tech country is a way for Malaysia to be a high-income country. Increase manufacturing capacity by producing increasingly complex and sophisticated products. We can see today, Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation mostly is trying to transform the country from just as technology users to technology inventor or and developer by the National Fourth Industrial Revolution Policy for IR. Next, by the Malaysian Digital Economy Corporation (MDEC), the government is committed to supporting local technology companies to become multinational companies through the program Global Acceleration and Innovation Network (GAIN). And lastly, countries need to be a global export player because in the past, other countries developed by producing a new and high value product for export. That's all from me. Continue with Tata.
Alright, but however, Datuk Sri Idris Jala said that Malaysia is no longer trapped in the middle income trap, and the reason he gave was Malaysia managed to close the GNI gap set by the World Bank's high income level from 33% in 2009 to 60% in 2014. And we know that this is not a true statement. Next slide, please. Alright, as per 2020, the high-income nation stands at GNI per capita of 12,475, but Malaysia's GNI as per capita just 11,200, which means Malaysia is still trapped in middle income situation, middle income category, and the lower middle income. Actually, the middle income trap has two categories, which is lower and higher, and this is the amount of lower and upper middle income. Next slide, please. Alright, this is a graph from World Bank. The source is World Bank, which is shown that Malaysia is just an upper middle income country because as you see, the red line shows that the amount of GNI per capita set by World Bank to pass the middle income trap, which is the right hand side of the red line is high income and the left hand side is the middle and lower, and Malaysia is still at the left side of the red line. We show that Malaysia is just a middle income country, and of course Malaysia is still upper middle income country until now. Next slide, please. Alright, however, the NIAC book, the new economic model for Malaysia part 1 states that Malaysia briskly climbed the ladder to attain upper middle income status by 1987, but its economy has become sluggish since then. And we know that until now, Malaysia is still climbed the ladder to attain the high income status, but not yet. Just that from us. Next slide, please. Thank you. Just that from us about Malaysia is still stuck in middle income trap. Doctor, you mute your mic. Sorry. All right. All right. The telegram. The question from the telegram is, why would an organization? I'm sorry. What is the largest industry in South Korea? Maybe because we mentioned about Korea and Malaysia just now, so this is the question. What is the largest industry in South Korea?
Can I answer that question?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So the South Korea largest industries are like electronics, automobiles, telecommunication, shipbuilding, chemicals, and steel. So that's all from me.
Yes. Thank you.
Can you hear me, sir? Okay, sorry. Okay, before that, hi everyone and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today our group T14 or group 8 set 1 will discuss about 4IR, little bit about industry 4.0 and digital economy. Sorry I cannot open camera to ensure my internet stable till the end of the presentation because I'm sharing slide right now. But it's okay, I will open later. So first I will go fast about definition to make sure everyone know what we talk about. Okay. What is Industry 4.0? It's about digital transformation in manufacturing. This Industry 4.0 are more focused on digitalize or use smart technology in manufacturing. Again, in manufacturing, I bold it at slide. For example, smart factory, Internet on Things, and others. So next, what is 4IR or 4 Industrial Revolution? 4IR refers to the disruptive transformation of industry through the application of emerging technology. 4IR is affecting not only the manufacturing sector, again, not only manufacturing sector, but impact all economic and sector of life. And yes, Malaysia start publish this 4IR policy, this book in the right, this blue book on 1st July 2021. Very important to know that Industry 4.0 just a subset or part of 4IR. Industry 4.0 only focus on manufacturing. I repeat that Industry 4.0 only focus on manufacturing sector. But 4IR all aspect in our life like smart city, environment, public security, healthcare and others. Next, what is digital economy? For me, digital economy is a new era of economy, new type of economy, and everyone must go for it. We need go for it. Traditional economy are not our choice now, right? Today, what we know, everything can we buy at Shopee, at Lazada, and today we just pay and deliver it by courier. But before that, if I can share my experience, kalau ikut sebelum ni, saya contohnya saya nak ingin beli kacang daripada kampung saya, daripada Kelantan misalnya, saya perlu call makcik saya ataupun atuk nenek untuk beli dan hantar kepada kita. Dan ia mengambil masa yang lama. Dan jika sekarang, now everyone can sell anything at anywhere. Just to promote, if anyone sell at Shopee, you can give link at the chat box so that we can follow and support you, insyaAllah. From the blueprint book, digital economy refers to activities and transactions driven by the public and private sector as well as the citizen to produce, adopt and innovate digital technology and service in relation to socio-economic function. Yes, Malaysia implementation digital economy have 10 years plan that I think another presenter will talk about this later. Yes, economy digital are part of our outcome for IR. Yeah, when we talk about digital economy, I actually remember one agency under MCMC, MDEC, Malaysian Digital Economy Corporation. If we search at Google right now, we can see that MDEC aspiration is to firmly establish Malaysia as the heart of digital ASEAN. So this is a book, Malaysia Digital Economy Blueprint by Unit Perancangan Ekonomi. So next, these two books that I showed before for IR policy book, blue book and digital economy is to support the delivery of national agenda. These three the national agenda today: share prosperity vision 2030, SDG 2030 and RMK 12 that will be present, I think on October, I think. Why we need to move to digital economy? I talk about why we move, we need to move. So this is the proof that we need to move. If we can see internet user across here increase day by day, and today I think maybe 2021 maybe cecah 90% or 93%, I think. So next, from I don't know how to pronounce UNTEC or UNTEC. Malaysia value added e-commerce also increase, and also from DOSM, Department of Statistics Malaysia also increase year by year, quarter by quarter. And this another proof that we can talk that we must need to go to digital economy 4IR and Industry 4.0. So today, to support digitalization and make all of you understand what I say, all of you can scan the QR code here to get all the book that I show to you for IR policy or digital blueprint. So you can get, and also this slide today you can get by this QR code. So next, yes, I would like to say you will never let's transform and support digital economy. But actually, yes, we must terima hakikat kalau dalam bahasa Melayu yang that we already start late than other country like German. If you can see, German start 2011. USA start 2011, Korea 2014. But yes, we already late. We start at 2018. And also we also ke belakang daripada Singapura. But for me, it's better late than never. That's all from me. Give to the next presenter.
Okay, next, the impact of 4IR for the business. On the supply side, they will create entirely new ways of serving existing needs and significantly disrupt existing industry value chains. Major shifts on the demand side are also occurring as growing transparency, consumer engagement, and new pattern of consumer behavior. They lower the barrier for business and individual to create wealth, altering the personal and professional environment of worker. For the impact in economy, will sustaining economic growth with the extent of various technologies such as Internet of Things, AI, and Big Data. All sectors, including the manufacturing, education, and health industry, will not only increase productivity but also reduce cost and management time. For the industry, the lower middle group will be marginalized in this new economic system because they are easier to replace with robot and system.
They don't have the technical knowledge that can be offered to employer and the economy as a whole. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Alright, so now I will present about who will be affected by the implementation of 4IR. So I've summarized it and I came to a conclusion that three people will be affected by the implementation of 4IR, which is society, businesses, and also public sectors. So for societies, first of all, the citizens of Malaysia will actually experience and improve our quality of life by the year of 2030, in accordance to the national agenda of shared vision to 2030 and also the 2030 SDGs. So Malaysians will experience an increase in survival probability from chronic diseases from 82.8% in 2019 to 90%, as an example. And other than that, 4IR technologies will also enhance and implement 21st century learning program, which will also scale up students' exposure to 4IR technologies and equip them with soft skills for the future. And this 4IR policy will also introduce an ethics policy, which will ensure its responsible use, which will improve also personal data protection laws, regulation, and also existing guidelines. And 4IR implementation of 4IR policy also aims to bridge the technological adoption gap between the urban and rural communities. Alright, as for businesses, businesses will become more productive, competitive, and also innovative in their offerings and business operations and value delivery to consumers. And the conducive doing business environment will allow more flexibilities for technological innovations to create greater opportunities for integration or cross-sectoral technology applications. And 4IR technologies such as AI and also Internet of Things will also reduce the dependency of Malaysia on foreign labours and also increase and transform 20% of Semites and low-skilled labour to highly skilled labours. And this will also increase the 30% of productivity across all sectors. And incentives and investment fund will be given to company utilizing 4IR technologies and will encourage more homegrown 4IR technology providers to accelerate 4IR adoption. And lastly is the public sector. Public sector will adopt 80% of online government services to be integrated and supported by 4IR technology applications, including AI and also Internet of Things. And also cloud computing in the public sector will strengthen the data-driven policy development and also create a more conducive data sharing environment to ensure high data quality, also enhancing the workforce mobilities of the public sector and also the infrastructure for public sectors. And lastly, World Economic Forum Center will also be developed by the country to accelerate the country into a hub of global stakeholders cooperation that will facilitate the development of better policy frameworks. So that is all from me. Thank you. I will pass it to the next presenter.
Okay, next I will talk about the international comparisons of R&D expenditure as percentage of GDP. From the annual National R&D Survey conducted by MASDID, it stated that Malaysia has achieved it stated that we have achieved 2020 target of reaching 70 researchers per 10,000 labor force by 2016. And Malaysia also has targeted to reach the JERT goal of 3.5% by 2030. But if we read from the data From the report WCY 2019, Malaysia was ranked 24th out of 63 countries, remained at the same positions as compared to 2017 with GDP value of 1.44%. If we compare it with Korea, 5.55, I can say that Malaysia still need to improve our technology to be as powerful as them. Okay, next. This is index score ranking from UNCTAD. It shows several ranking to measure readiness for IR. If we look at it in a glance, we can see that Malaysia are not in top 10 for each category, but our total score has big for IR in ICT ranking. Next. Okay, this is Jendela Action Plan. Jendela aims to provide all Malaysians with quality access to digital connectivity worldwide. And this plan is divided by 2 phases, and currently we are in the first phase. In first phase, Jendela target for 4G mobile coverage will be increasing from 91.8% to 96.9% in populated area. The mobile broadband speed also will be faster, and 3G network will gradually retire by the end of 2021. And if we compare it to Singapore, I can say that we are still far behind them because Singapore had opened 5G trial tech call in 2019, and in 2020, Singapore is on track to commence 5G deployment. They also target that there will be full-fledged 5G standalone capability covering at least half of Singapore by the end of 2022. So if we look at this, Singapore has already on their plan for 5G coverage, but Malaysia still aim for full 4G coverage. Next. This is from WIPO. I can't find the data about AI patent, so I just take the full number of patents only. Okay. From this data, it gives the number of patents by China and Malaysia. We can see that there are huge gap between Malaysia and China in terms of patent filing. Patents reflect the nation's expenditure on advanced technology. So, if we want to measure the readiness of Malaysia for IR, then Malaysia still has a lot of things to be improvised for us to adopt 4IR and advanced technology in our life. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, so we already know what 4I and digital economy is, and these are some of 4I engine or technology. The first one is artificial intelligence (AI). Second is Internet of Things (IoT). Third, genetic engineering. Okay, so these are some of the examples that I list on this slide. And other than these three engines, we also have robotics, 3D printing, quantum computing, and other technologies are also one of the 4R engines. Next. Okay, these are some problems in 4IR problems in Malaysia. The first one is the poor information security controls. The second one is the 4I infrastructure that can only be accessed by certain parties. And the third one is the lack of expert manpower in implementing or creating 4I technology. So I pass it to the next presenter.
Okay, so I would like to share some point of suggestion on how Malaysia can be moved forward. First of all, Malaysia are still at a level where we are 10 years ago that is at middle income track. So in my opinion, we need to move the value chain. Meaning to say we have to give privacy to our local technologies and our high-tech talent need to be developed. Secondly, it is about facilitating innovation on LED growth, strong participation from the industry. We need more industry to conduct research and to attract quality of investment, focusing on creating of high value product. Last but not least, upskilling and reskilling existing and future labour pool need to be at the heart of the Malaysia transformation. Under the new policy, there will be initiative to establish industry LED and sectorial based YR skill development center with plan to incentive the selected industry to upskill and reskill talent in 4R areas. It will also work toward establishing an artificial intelligence enabled data platform to facilitate human capital planning and reconcile current labour policy with talent pipeline projection and reduce dependency on foreign labour. That's all from me. I will pass to another presenter. Thank you.
Alright, I will continue for the next part, which is that Malaysia is ready for Industrial Revolution 4.0. I just can see that Malaysia is not ready yet to get into Industry 4.0 because there is still plenty of room for both government and manufacturing industry that needs to be improved. Next slide. Okay, there has a lot of challenges faced by Malaysia for Industry 4.0, such as on technology. We can see that Malaysia has a lack of cost and benefit analysis about the Industry 4.0 technologies, lack of Industry 4.0 infrastructure, and also Malaysia industry has a lack of awareness of technologies and low digital readiness and connectivity, especially among the small and medium-sized enterprise. And how about the cost and the financial? Okay, we can see that Malaysia has a high cost of adoption, lack of funding and initiative, and we also can see how much Malaysia spend to the investment cost higher than Malaysia spend to the company economic goods. And the higher adoption costs make a longer payback period for the fourth industrial revolution to be processed, and it will affect the daily production of industry as well. So next slide. Okay, next, how to overcome. Okay, on this part, we can see that the way that should be taken by Malaysia to overcome the challenge, and this way is due to the four key objectivity of Malaysian manufacturing sector, such as GDP contribution, high skill employment, national productivity, and also innovation capability. And today I just want to focus on upskilling and reskilling the existing as well as future talent and skill. So to overcome this challenge, Malaysia should have to upskill the rest of workers, especially among the students that needs to be exposed to Industry 4.0 by teaching them some basic coding and application development in school, and also reskilling the existing worker as well. So I think that's all from me. I will pass it to the next presenter. Thank you.
Okay, we continue with digital economy. So for digital economy, the impact of digital economy is wide and transformative, which is also capable to influence society, business and government. So for society, by 2025, the digital economy is targeted to achieve 500,000 new jobs, change 100% household with access to internet, and students to have access to online learning. For business, physical product and services such as books and DVDs are being replaced by e-books and online streaming, and also online business provide channels to expand via e-commerce. Last, for government, e-government portals have improved the efficiency of service delivery, like application for license and tax filing. Next. Okay, My Digital has set up initiative and target outcomes to across 3 phases of implementation that will deliver through 6 main trusts and 22 strategies as been shown in this slide. So 3 key phases have been set to achieve My Digital aspiration, whereas for phase 1, target aims to accelerate adoption towards strengthening the digital foundation. In phase 2, target to achieve by 2025, the focus is shift to driving digital transformation and inclusion. Last, phase 3 that target to achieve 10 years from now, that will chart the pathway for strong sustainable growth in the decades to come. Next. Okay, as shown in this slide, Malaysia is positioned in top 50 of Malaysia's performance in key global index that reflect the effectiveness of national policies in developing the digital economy. However, more effort is needed to evaluate the country towards becoming a regional leader in digital economy. Next. Okay, digital government is referred to use of digital technology that relies on digital government ecosystem comprised of government actors, non-government organization, business, citizens associations and individuals. So this is some of the highlight of new national initiative to achieve the target for digital economies. Like all agency will adopt to cashless payment for more efficient transactions. Government have introduced new program like My Device and My Digital Teacher program to encourage students and teachers the use of digital tools and technology, and introduce My IKRA program to encourage volunteerism in conducting digital training. Also introduce Gig Up program to equip gig workers with versatile skills and many more. So next, we pass to the next presenter.
Hi. Malaysia is facing challenges both internally and externally. Here are three main of problem. First is lack of digital skill, where we are facing on shortage of pupil skill in science, technology, engineering and mathematics, or we call as STEM. Second is inadequate digitalization by firms of all sizes. There are a few problems that they are facing, like a lack of the technology knowledge and organization, such as not knowing where to start, how to implement their digital strategy, or where to find their technology skilled employees. Third is rise of cybersecurity threat or crime. Next slide. There are a few ways to overcome those problems. For example, first, reduction in the cost of digitalization. Second, development of worker skill. Third, digitally relevant regulation. And fourth, fully apply the safety security. Next slide. While in prospect, there are one big project that Malaysia are looking forward, which is Malaysia Digital Economy Blueprint. In this project, there are 22 strategies comprising 48 national initiatives and 28 sector initiatives. It will focus on driving inclusive digital transformation, and it will start from year 2021 until 2030. Besides, Jendela is a part of the 12th Malaysian Plan, is aimed at improving the country digital infrastructure, transition toward 5G technology, and the timely delivery of high-quality broadband services at reasonable rate. Meanwhile, in DIF 5 or Digital Investment Future 5, Malaysia aims to secure high-quality digital investment as it seeks to unlock new drivers of growth in the digital economy. And one of their strategy is to target around 50 billion investment in the digital economy. I will pass to the next presenter.
Alright, thank you. By the way, Doctor, I'm sorry I cannot open my camera because I'm using a basic data. So I will continue the present about global trends in digital economy. Today, the world is increasingly digital, from the way societies interact to how business operate and delivery of public service. Alright, first, consumers are moving towards digitalization, especially through e-commerce, and online banking, as they prefer quick and convenient transaction. Second, data is the future commodity, and lastly is digital economy has the potential to enhance economy competitiveness and dynamism. Next slide. Alright. Southeast Asia is prime of greater growth. Southeast Asia has the fourth largest internet market in the world and a growing e-commerce sector with 14 unicorns. Several countries have developed digital economy strategies for increased competitiveness, and their achievement based on the GSI ranking 2019 as shown in figure. That's all from us. Thank you. Okay, Doctor, I will pick one question from Telegram. I will pick a question from Tata, Why would an organization need a digital business platform? Alright, the answer is organization needs digital platform principally because they provide capabilities that would be too expensive and time consuming to build and maintain internally. The three core capabilities of digital business platform each require a lot of engineering to get right. That's all from me. Thank you.
Only one more, doctor.
Just one more, doctor.
One, doctor. Yeah. My last group. Just one.
All the best, last group.
Okay, start now, Doctor. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To Doctor and my friends, so our group will presenting about bilateral and regional cooperation between countries. Next slide. Next.
I can see, Doctor.
So we can see.
We can see, doctor. We can see Izzat tu.
Now we are going to so this regional cooperation of FEP and of bilateral, regional, multilateral, different of trade agreement, economic cooperation discussion on meeting report, Malaysian trade review, current of trade, FEP, 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 or conducted with next. While regional integration is an agreement between country in a geographic region to reduce and ultimately remove tariff and non-tariff barrier to facilitate the free flow of goods and service between one and another. Next. Malaysia Free Trade Agreement history. Next. Malaysia signed 16 FTA, implemented 14 FTA, which is 7 bilateral FTA and 7 regional FTA. The first bilateral FTA Malaysian was Malaysia-Japan Economic Partnership Agreement, and it entered into force on 30 July 2006. The first regional FTA was ASEAN Free Trade Area after that was signed on 28 January 1992, and on January 2010, Malaysia with 5 other ASEAN member states, Brunei, Indonesia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand become a free trade area for trade in goods with elimination of import duty. Next. So this is FTA that Malaysia have, 6 regional FTA and 7 bilateral FTA. Next. More than 62.4 of Malaysia total trade for 2018 was contributed by FTA partner, boosted by growing trade activity and outreaching activity. The total trade between Malaysia and FTA partner registered an expansion of 4.7 billion. Total export for 6.5 billion in 2018 at 5.75 billion. Next. Similarly, the total trade between the Republic of Korea was another notable achievement as it expanded to 72.60 billion in 2018. The shares in export value become the main driver of improvement in total trade as it recorded an increase of 17.8% to 33.68 billion. Export to ASEAN expanded by 5.1% to RM 285.37 billion in 2018. The growth has been supported by the expansion of export to Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, and Philippines, and Cambodia that accounted for 87.1% of Malaysia export to the region. Next. So this is 2016 Malaysia total trade with FTA partner. This is top 5 FTA partner with Malaysia. Next. This meeting report from 2017. As you can see, 2018 total trade with FTA partner was RM 1122.73 billion. And total export with FTA partner is RM 5901.5 billion. Next. Total trade in registered in 2018. This is of course top 5 trading partner with Malaysia. Next. This is the data from 2019. Still top 5 trading partner with Malaysia. Next. We'll pass to the next presenter. Next presenter.
Okay, next is the differences of 3 types trade agreements, which is bilateral, regional, and multilateral. Bilateral is the ties between 2 states, countries. Regional is treaties among 2 or more governments that agree to offer more favorable treatment to trade between themselves than they do to goods imported from outside the region. And multilateral is the ties among 3 or more states without discrimination between those involved. Next. I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, so the meeting reports that will be discussed are mainly 2017, 2018, and 2019. Before that, I want to say sorry, I cannot switch on my camera because my internet connection is quite bad. Okay, next. So Malaysia's total trade has increased from 1.77 trillion ringgit in 2017 to 1.88 trillion ringgit in 2018. But then, however, there was a slight decrease to 1.84 trillion in 2019. Next. For our trade, that was the total trade with all our trading partners. This is for the FTA partners only. So the total trade in 2017 is 1.12 trillion, in 2018 is 1.17 trillion ringgit, and in 2019 is 1.22 trillion ringgit. Next. Okay, other than looking at the amount of money to determine our total trade, we can also look at the number of PCO issued by our FTA partners, the schemes that issued this PCO. So, PCO is a preferential certificate of origin where it verifies that the goods of a certain origin are qualified to enjoy preferential treatment as provided under the specific FTA. So, looking at this statistic, in 2017, the number of PCOs issued is 566,778. In 2018, it increased to 610,033, and in 2019, it increased to 660,099. So, like the schemes that issued the highest number of PCO is ASEAN Trade in Goods Agreement, which increased by 3.3% in 2018 from 2017. So, and then we have the ASEAN China FTA, followed by ASEAN Australia New Zealand FTA, followed by Malaysia Japan Economic Partnership Agreement, and then ASEAN Korea FTA, and then those are the FTA that issued the highest number of PCO. But then if we look at 2018 MITI report, several FTAs showed a decline in the number of PCO issued, such as the Malaysia-Pakistan Closer Economic Agreement, Malaysia-Australia FTA, and Malaysia-Turkey FTA. However, based on the 2019 MITI report, we see that Malaysia-Australia FTA shows an increase in the number of PCO issued. Next. Next is Malaysia's multilateral relations and bilateral relations, which are under negotiations. So firstly, we have the ASEAN-EU FTA, where both groupings agreed to resume the negotiations for this agreement in 2017. A joint working group was established in 2017, and a round of meetings was convened. And then in 2018, EU retained its position as ASEAN's second largest trading partner with a total two-way trade of 71.42 billion ringgit. And then for RCEP, in 2017, the FTA was under negotiations, which consists of negotiating rounds, ministerial meetings, and leaders' summits. And they expected it to be concluded by late 2018. However, in 2018, they only managed to conclude 7 chapters during the 6th RCEP ministerial meeting, 24th RCEP trade negotiating committee meeting, and the 2nd RCEP leaders summit. And then in 2019, they further concluded 20 chapters during the 3rd RCEP summit in November 2019. However, there still remain some challenges in concluding the markets across these negotiations between a few bilateral pairs because of the country's political scenery. And then next we have the ASEAN Australia New Zealand FTA, which in 2019, the first protocol to amend the FTA has been implemented, and this protocol was signed in 2014. So in 2018, trade between all groupings totaled 308.65 billion ringgit, and foreign direct investment from Australia and New Zealand constitutes 4.7% of total FDI into ASEAN. And then, so in 2019, the ministers endorsed recommendations to upgrade the FTA, and hence in the 11th AAN-ZEC FTA Joint Committee meeting, discussions were held. And during this meeting, they established 5 additional subsidiary bodies under FTA Joint Committee meeting to forward the upgrading work. Next. For Malaysian-Turkey Free Trade Agreement. So in 2015, the total trade between these two countries is 5.61 billion, and 2018 it increased to 8.42 billion, and it further increased to 11.99 billion. But however, after 2017, the total trade decreased to 9.79 billion, I'm sorry, that's a typo there. It decreased to 9.79 billion. It contracted by 18.4% if we look at 2017. So after that, following the decision of the first joint committee meeting of the MCFTA, the first round of negotiations was held in March 2018, which includes 3 new chapters. And then second round of negotiations were held in October 2018, in which the draft text for all 3 chapters were discussed in hoping to increase the total trade. However, we can see in 2019, the total trade still decreased to 8.79 billion. Next, we have the ASEAN-Hong Kong FTA, where the FTAs were signed by all the groupings in 2017, and it was finally finished by 2018. So then in 2018, there was negotiations and discussions to ratify the agreement, and it finally entered into force for Malaysia in 13 October 2019. And then finally is the MCFTA, which is the Malaysia-Chile Free Trade Agreement. So this Malaysia-Chile Free Trade Agreement is the first bilateral FTA between Malaysia and a Latin American country. It was signed in November 2010 and entered into force in February 2012. So this implementation of MCFTA has expanded the bilateral trade, which shows an increase from 1.07 billion ringgit in 2012 to 1.32 billion ringgit in 2018. Export also increased from 421.29 million to 811 million in these last 7 years. However, when the exports increased, we can see that the import from Chile recorded a decrease from 646.7 million in 2012 to 505.27 million in 2018. And so, the first joint committee meeting was held in November 2018 to conclude several agenda items related to trade in goods, rules of origin, and dispute settlement mechanism. And this committee also established a new area of interest such as e-commerce and environment. And then in 2019, the import from Chile can be seen to increase to around 900 million ringgit. Next. Now we move on to the developments at World Trade Organization. In 2016, the notable development that Malaysia was part of is the ratification of the Trade Facilitation Agreement. This agreement is important because it carries a few benefits that can be seen from the picture below. I will summarize the benefits, which are movement of goods will be expedited. Second one is members' trade costs are expected to average at 14.3% only. Then reduction in time to import goods and also export goods. And lastly is new products to be exported out potentially at 20%. Malaysia has played a big part as chair of ASEAN in 2015 to push for the ratification of the Trade Facilitation Agreement. So in 2016, during the World Economic Forum on ASEAN 2016, the ASEAN Regional Strategy Group was established, and this was an important step for Malaysia because our own Datuk Sri Nazir Razak, the chairman of CIMB Group Holdings Malaysia, was appointed inaugural chair of the ASEAN RSG. So this ASEAN RSG is supposed to conduct a study to examine various regional integration models. The purpose of this study is to understand how the fourth industrial revolution might impact our regional integration. Next. And in 2017, Malaysia was involved in the 11th WTO Ministerial Conference, WTO Public Forum 2017, and WTO Secretariat Visit. So, one of the notable involvements of Malaysia is during the WTO Public Forum, where we had a session on sustainability and non-tariff barriers to trade, the case study of palm oil, which was an initiative led by Malaysia and other palm oil producing countries. And the other one is the WTO Secretariat Visit, in which they visited Malaysia to conduct the trade policy review. Next. Then in 2018, these are some of the other developments at WTO, but I would like to draw your attention to the WTO reform, in which in 2018, the perception that the multilateral trading system has failed to prevent distortive trade practices, and then there was the discussions on a proposal to enhance transparency, strengthen notification requirements, and overcome the deadlock on dispute settlement mechanism. A trilateral meeting of the trade ministers of EU, Japan, and the US was held on the 25th September 2018, and these ministers shares a common review on the need to reform the WTO. Next. And I would like to draw your attention again to the WTO reform, but in 2019. So in 2019, the talks to reform the WTO, which was held last year, was mooted because they prefer to strengthen the organization's function instead of reforming the whole strategy of the WTO. So they want to strengthen the organization function by focusing on these three areas, which is monitoring the members' trade policies. They want to serve as a forum for trade negotiations, and they want to provide a mechanism to settle trade tensions. And the discussion to reform the WTO was also mooted because there was another immediate issue requiring resolution, which is appointing members to the WTO appellate body. So this WTO appellate body needed a minimum of 3 AB members to make a ruling on the case. However, in 2019, there's only one member left. So there was the challenge of appointing new members to this WTO appellate body, and therefore reformation on WTO has to be postponed. That's all from me. I will pass on to the next speaker.
Thank you, Kyrene, for the great explanation. Moving on to the next discussion, which is firstly we're going to discuss about how was Malaysia's exports to intra-ASEAN, and then we'll be discussing about how was Malaysia's imports from intra-ASEAN countries, and then we'll be sharing our I did. Yes, it's already on since the beginning. Okay, can I continue? Okay. And finally, we're going to share our opinions on Malaysia's trade, whether it increased because of other ASEAN countries or because of Singapore. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, so before I pass it on to Sarah, I'd first like to apologize on behalf of me and my partner in case for any of inaccurate information or any lack of information. We only found data from 2010 until 2021 in MITI, and we didn't find any data from 1990s or 2009. So without further ado, I'll pass this on to Zara. Thank you. Zara, are you talking?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. So back to the first graph. So here is Malaysia's export to intra-ASEAN country. So as we can see, Singapore is the major trading partner with Malaysia in ASEAN, and also followed by Thailand, Indonesia, and Vietnam. Based on Doctor's question, is the increase of Malaysia's trade because of AFTA ASEAN or because of Singapore as the major trade partner of Malaysia? Regarding that, we will look from two perspectives, which is export trade Malaysia ASEAN country without Singapore, and export trade Malaysia Singapore only. Next slide. Okay. In Malaysia ASEAN trade without Singapore, Malaysia had top two trade partner, which are Thailand and Indonesia.
It's noticeable Malaysia's trade with Thailand had good trades since 2010 until now and had the highest export in 2018 that had reached over 6 billion USD of export in mechanical and electronics and also capital goods. Malaysia also had trade with Indonesia in the second place from 2010 until 2012. The export to Indonesia increased dramatically, which is also the highest of export in 2012, which value reached over 5 billion USD export in intermediate and consumer goods. If we look and compare to Malaysia's trade with Singapore only, there were significant observations because Malaysia had a very big value rather than Thailand and Indonesia. According to the graph, the trend of export increased and had the highest export in 2018, which had reached over 17.5 billion USD of export in capital goods and mechanical, also electronic. So by the look of the total export of these two perspectives, we can see that yes, Malaysia does have good trades as a proof of an increase with other ASEAN members. However, we cannot deny that the trade with Singapore brings more increases in Malaysia's trades because of large value in export value as Singapore that is standing alone compared to export Malaysia ASEAN. The Malaysia-Singapore total export value had biggest value rather than ASEAN Malay, which has 8 other countries. In 2019 and until 2020 also showed that total export of Singapore had value more than ASEAN nation. That's only from me, so I will pass to the Naura.
Next slide. Okay, thank you, Zara, for the explanation. We'll move on to the next graph, which is Malaysia's import from intra-ASEAN countries. Now, from the graph, we can observe that the highest import of Malaysia is with Singapore, followed by Thailand, London, Indonesia, and Vietnam, and followed by the rest of the countries, which we see the trend is an increase in 2010 to 2014 before it drops in 2015 to 2016, and then it rises again in 2017 before it declines again until 2021. Now, according to The Economist, the drop in 2015 is due to the fall of, if I'm not mistaken, is due to the fall of global prices in industrial raw materials and also to the depreciation of currencies, which is, for instance, China. Now, China is the #1 largest trading partner of 5 ASEAN countries, which includes Malaysia and Singapore. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, so on the left side, you can see that it's top 2 Malaysians imports with ASEAN countries, which I took Thailand and Indonesia because that's the highest. And then on the right side is Malaysia's imports with Singapore. And in the middle is the table of imports of Malaysia ASEAN and Malaysia with Singapore. Now, according to WITS, between 2010 to 2012, Malaysia's imports with Indonesia, the highest is intermediate goods, which is more than 5 billion. The next graph shows Malaysia's imports with Thailand. We can observe that the steady increase of imports trades of capital goods between 2010 to 2019, which ranges from below 5 to nearly 6 billion. In comparison to the right side, which is Malaysia's importing trade with Singapore, the highest is consumer goods, which accounts to 12.5 billion. Now, most of Singapore's products also ranges between 5 billion to 12.5 billion in comparison to Malaysia's importing trade with Thailand and Malaysia's import with Indonesia, which their highest imports is less than 6 billion. Okay. Now, according to the question, did Malaysia's export or import increase because of the ASEAN countries, or did it increase because of Malaysia's export import with Singapore? Based on the graphs that we've shown before, from Zara to the graph that I showed previously, we don't deny that Malaysia's import and export in trade has increased over the years with Malaysia and Thailand and Malaysia and Indonesia and the rest of the ASEAN countries. We see the increase. And if we look at the table of the total import between Malaysia, ASEAN and Malaysia, Singapore, if we look at the total trade between Malaysia, ASEAN, Malaysia, Singapore, from 2010 to 2021, the total trade between of import of Malaysia, ASEAN is larger and higher than the total import of Malaysia and Singapore, which shows, Okay, so although Malaysia's imports with Singapore is less than Malaysia's imports with ASEAN, the amount of each year that can be said is almost at par or nearly at the same level with Malaysia's import from ASEAN, which shows that Malaysia has been importing a very large amount from Singapore in comparison to Malaysia's import with ASEAN. Now, from all of this that we're talking about, basically the conclusion that we're coming to is that Malaysia's export and import did increase with other ASEAN countries. But even if the total of Malaysia's export and import with Singapore is less than the total of with Malaysia and ASEAN, we should remember that for a very long time, Singapore has been a major trading partner of Malaysia, and its export and import alone, I'm stressing alone because that country is by itself compared to of ASEAN's country altogether, it alone is more than, that country alone is more than each of the other ASEAN countries with Malaysia and Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Malaysia and Vietnam. So my partner and I believe that the increase of Malaysia's export and import in ASEAN can be said because of the total export and import with Singapore, despite Malaysia's increase with trading with other ASEAN countries. So that's the conclusion that we came to. And I hope that answers the doctor's question. We're sorry for any, how do you say it? And sorry for any kelemahan. That's all, thank you.
So next, I will continue with the current bilateral FTA status for Malaysia. So as you know, currently there are 7 bilateral FTA, which is Japan, Pakistan, India, New Zealand, Chile, Australia, and Turkey. But for today, with the lack of time, I will focus only the 3 of it. Next slide, please. Next. Okay, thank you. So the first one is Pakistan. For your information, the trade has expanded 17.8% to RM 4.85 billion from 4.12 billion in 2016. This is because Pakistan is the highest imported country for Malaysia palm oil. Under MPC EPA, Closer Economic Partnership Agreement, both Malaysia and Pakistan will progressively reduce or eliminate tariff on their respective industrial and agricultural products. Next one is India. India has trade amount to 10.77 billion in total as of 2016, but the trade has been declined from 2015. On refined palm oil, India has bind tariff at 45%. In terms of services trade, Malaysia foreign equity has been allowed by India. In return, Malaysia also has allowed India foreign equity shareholding in 91 service subsectors. Finally is Turkey. Turkey is the latest agreement of FTA, so the total export in 2016 has increased when the FTA has come into enforcement. The export of merchandise by 89%. The elimination of tariff will be conducted gradually from 2015 to 2019 based on the modalities from fast track to the highly sensitive tracks. Next slide. The next slide is the current status of ASEAN bilateral, the agreement between ASEAN country and others. Next slide. So for today, I will be talk 4 only. The first one is ASEAN China. In 2012, ASEAN 6 and China have common tariff reduction on products in the sensitive list. 20% on 1 January 2012 and to 0 to 5% by 2018. The next one is ASEAN EU. A joint committee comprising senior officials from all ASEAN member states and EU was established to develop the details of the modalities, work program, and time schedule for negotiating the ASEAN EU FTA. However, the joint committee has paused since 2009. Since then, the EU has embarked on bilateral FTA with individual AMS, ASEAN member states. Next slide. The next one is ASEAN Indian. In terms of services, the ITISA, ASEAN Indian Trade in Service Agreement, entered into force on 1 July 2015 for 6 ASEAN member states, namely Brunei Darussalam, Malaysia, Myanmar, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, as well as India. And in terms of investment, the ASEAN Indian Investment Agreement (AIIA) was signed on 12 November 2014. Finally, the ASEAN Japan FTA. ASEAN Japan Comprehensive Economic Partnership (AJCEAP) are fully realized by ASEAN 6 and Japan in 2015 when tariff on substantially all products have been eliminated. To date, Malaysia has eliminated duties for 93.57% of product in the normal track. Next presenter. Thank you. That's all from me.
And now I will explain about EPPE. Next slide. Okay. What is TPPA? So TPPA is actually stand for the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. TPPA is a trade agreement between 12 Pacific Rim nations, which includes Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, United States, and lastly Vietnam. And it was signed on 4th February 2016 in Auckland, New Zealand. The TPPA is a comprehensive FTA which covers trade and trade-related issues, and it aims to boost economic growth. Some of prominent provisions that included in TPPA are: first, elimination or reduction of tariff; second, liberalization of services trade; third, investment rule; fourth, e-commerce guideline; fifth, intellectual property protection. Next slide. Before. Slide and before. Okay, so what actually happened to TPPA? The United States President Donald Trump signed an executive order to withdraw from the TPPA on 23 January 2017. So the remaining 11 signatories, also called as TPP-11, they continued the talk with the aim of salvaging a pact without the United States. And the effort was successful, and it leading to the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is CPTPP, and it was signed in March 2018. Now, TPP agreement. Next slide. Moving on, now I will explain about Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, or CPTPP. The CPTPP was signed by all remaining 11 participating countries, and these 11 countries are members of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, which is APEC. So the members of CPTPP covers a combined 13.5% of the global economy, making this as one of the largest free trade agreements in the world. Most provision of the CPTP are similar and identical to the original TPP. One of the main differences in the CPTPP is the removal of certain provisions regarding intellectual properties. The CPTPP provides crucial trade and investment liberalization and reforms, boosting productivity. Next slide.
APC, which is Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation in Malaysia. So we can see that the percent of Malaysia total rate in 2017 and Alright. So you can see that the percent of Malaysia total rate is 76.8% in 2017, and in 2019 there was 77% of Malaysian total rate. And we can see that they have an increase in 2017 to 2019. So we move on to APC 2017. APEC have the achievement in 2017, which is regionalization, economic integration, business facilitation, and the APEC for the people. So for moving on to the APEC 2018, the Papua New Guinea was the host of APEC 2018, and the theme of the meeting is harnessing inclusive opportunities, embracing the digital future. And in the meeting, it can help to improving, connecting, deepening regional economic integration, and promoting inclusive and sustainable growth, and also strengthening inclusive growth through structural reform. And in 2018, Malaysia continued active participant in APEC discussion to promote free and open trade and investment to deepen regional economic interaction in the Asia-Pacific region. So for the APEC 2019, Chow was the host. Okay. All right, sorry. So moving on to the APEC 2019, Chow was the host for the APEC 2019 meeting with the theme Connecting People, Building the Future. And 4 priorities were set out to be achieved during Chow's tenure as the host, which is digital society, integration 4.0, women SMEs, and inclusive growth, and also sustainable growth. And in 2019, among the key achievements is La Serena roadmap on women and inclusive growth, roadmap on combating illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, and also roadmap on marine debris. So as the host of APEC 2020, Malaysia will ensure that there is continuity of and progress in the work undertaken by Charles as the 2019 host. So Malaysia worked closely with all APEC members economy, particularly in developing and continuing the agenda building in 2019 by focusing on and advancing work in the areas of inclusivity, digital, economic, human capital, and sustainability. So that's all from me, and I'll pass to next presenter.
Okay, thank you, Chuni. Next, I will go quickly on the benefits of AFTA to Malaysia, which is the first one is wider market access. With the complete realization of AFTA Malaysia, companies will be able to benefit from preferential access into the larger domestic market of Asia. Larger market. Okay, thank you. Larger market access means bigger market for Malaysian products. It is envisaged that AFTA will allow free flow of goods within ASEAN, and thus Malaysia has every reason to ensure its successful implementation. And the second one is increased regional business network. Under AFTA, there are opportunities for local business to expand their regional business network. It is pivotal for Malaysian entrepreneurs to improve efficiency and competitiveness in order to establish synergetic linkage with their ASEAN. In particular, those in the SMEs categories could use this network as window of opportunity to go global. That's all from me. I pass to the next.
Thank you, Sarah. Now I will continue with challenges of AFTA. Okay, the first is differentiate market entry. There is no guarantee that the product that have been successful in the domestic market will achieve the same level of success in other ASEAN countries due to different consumer taste, price, and compatibles. Under AFTA, Malaysian firms will face stiff competitions from the other ASEAN producers who may be able to compete at a lower cost, hence gaining market share in Malaysia. Second, lack of appreciations. Lacks of appreciation of significance of AFTA among local business challenge as far as nation is concerned. Majority of them still regret that AFTA is another regional trade treatment such trade agreements such as PTA that has too many discussion but fewer outcome unless there is a change in the lackadaisical attitude of nation business community toward AFTA. Malaysia is going to incur adverse economic environment and enhance our neighborhoods. Next, I will pass to my friends. Okay, now the question is APEC effective? Okay, my answer is yes. Second question, does no country wants to be left out in APEC? My answer is also yes. So, why? What was yeah, no one wants to be left out. Alamak. Mana slide? Slide lah. Yeah. Last part. Okay, does no country wants to be left out? So the answer is yes. No country want to be left out in APEC. So why? What was the reason? Okay. The next slide. Okay. The reason that I said that APEC is effective and no country wants to be left out is because first, APEC facilitates trade opening such as reduced tariff, ensures that goods, service, investment and people move easily across borders. Second, APEC also align regulation and standard across the region. For example, APEC initiative to synchronize regulatory system. So a product can be more easily exported with just one set of common standard. Sorry, my internet goes wrong. Okay. First, to facilitate trades, where members in APEC facilitate trades through faster custom procedures at borders. And second, to facilitate investment. Okay, in between the two things that APEC concerned about is there is a protection of intellectual property rights to make sure each country has good law to protect their intellectual property. So, a country is considered has a good law if they have strict enforcement of this law. And it is to make sure that ideas, invention or product is protected by the law, preventing other company copying it and producing it as a counterfeit goods. Next slide. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you, doctor. Okay, next slide. Oh, my internet is lagging.
Oh yeah. Okay. Beside that, APEC also has Sustainable and Inclusive Asia Pacific, where APEC works to help all residents of Asia Pacific to participate in the growing economy. For example, APEC's project provide digital skills training for rural communities and help indigenous women export their products abroad. And second, the APEC also have APEC Capacity Building Project, where APEC enhance member capacity through skills training and technological know-how. And APEC also funded project to strengthen members' readiness to adopt new initiative from electronic custom processing regulatory reform. Okay, so you can read the last one. So move on to the next slide. Okay, now moving on to RCEP. So as we can see, RCEP cover the first, reduction of import duty, second, promotion facilitarian protection and investment liberation, third, protection of intellectual property rights in e-commerce, and fourth, economic and technical. Oh, okay. Thank you, Doctor. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Okay, the RCEP consists of 10 ASEAN members and 5 ASEAN partner countries, whereas the main objective of RCEP is first to strengthen regional value chain, second is user-friendly and easy to use, and third, it is modern, comprehensive and high quality. Okay, next slide. Okay, the latest news on RCEP is that according to the International Trade and Industry Ministry, Deputy Secretary General Datuk Sri Nur Azman Yaakob said that Malaysia are looking towards ratifying the RCEP by the end of this year, and if not, the latest is by the first quarter of the next year. Okay, the last slide. He also added that RCEP will come into force 60 days after Malaysia complete its domestic procedures and subsequently submit an instrument of ratification to ASEAN Secretariat. And for the RCEP to come into force, 6 ASEAN member states and 3 ASEAN Free Trade Agreement partners would have to ratify the agreement. Okay, that's all from us. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Doctor. Question from T2, is there any future FTA currently under negotiation? So there is several. For example, Malaysia-Iran Preferential Trade Agreement (MIPTA), Malaysia-European Free Trade Area Economic Partnership Agreement, and Malaysian-EU Free Trade Agreement. That's it.
Yes, yes.
Alright, Doctor.
Inshallah. Thank you, Doctor.
Alright. Apologies us to Doctor.
After that, I'm so happy.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you,
Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
No QR. No QR because I cannot do QR because this is not compulsory.
Okay.
It's not hard.
Thanks, Doctor.
Good luck.
Thank you, Doctor.
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 Terima kasih, Doktor.
Yeah, I hope that all the lessons, I've been introducing to you the new things like APEC, also the
Of course,
Sure,
yeah.
Doctor.
Alright, Doctor. Thank you.
Okay, Doctor.
Thank you to Doctor. Stay
Forgive
safe.
us too and sorry from us too. Thank you.
See you at UKM.
Thank you, Doctor.